So before I get into this video, there might be some wind in the background. Where I do record my videos, there is quite a draft that kind of comes in. So if it's windy outside, really windy like it is today, you'll kind of hear that. So I just want to get that out of the way. If you hear any wind, it's just the background noise. Now, let's get into this video. So Tyson Fury, I'm seeing various reports, and I actually have an article here from TalkSport where they're basically saying that Tyson Fury, his next opponent, is looking likely to be Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas is, I believe, a Colombian heavyweight who's based in Canada. Now, I could be wrong about that. I know he was based in Canada for a majority of his fights. He's coming off a win there back in January over Brian Jennings. He knocked Brian Jennings out in the 12th round. For those who don't know who Oscar Rivas is, he is a very short heavyweight. He's a 6 foot tall heavyweight. He weighs in around the 230s. Now, he's not fat. He's very muscly. And I'll touch on a little bit why I think that might be a bit of an issue if he does fight Tyson Fury. So I'm on this article here on TalkSport, and it says Tyson Fury will return to the ring on June the 8th, potentially against Oscar Rivas, according to reports. This is what they're reporting here. Now it says the lineal heavyweight champions, next fight I should say, is currently being planned by Frank Warren and Bob Arum after he linked the co-promotional deal with the pair last month. I'm also hearing as well, this is just going off the article here, going off topic, that various Frank Warren fighters like Carl Frampton, Billy Joe Saunders and Josh Warrington are actually looking at signing co-promotional deals with Bob Arum, which I kind of expect at this stage because they're both working very closely together, Frank and Bob, and I can easily see a lot of other fighters who are signed with Frank Warren going over to Top Rank in the States and being co-promoted by them. So I'm back onto this article here. I'm just looking through various things. It says basically they're just going about Oscar Rivas here. It says following the victory, the 31-year-old now linked with Top Rank ESPN. Now I did think that Rivas was with Yvon Michel, but obviously Yvon Michel seems to let his fighters fight with Bob Arum. In the case of Artur Beterbiev, he's been fighting over with Bob Arum and ESPN now. So it says here, despite his short stance at just 6 feet tall, Rivas packs a punch as he knocked out Brian Jennings last year, etc. Okay, so that's basically the TalkSport article in a nutshell. They're just kind of going over Oscar Rivas, kind of what he's all about, and then how the fight with him could go. Rivas would be a live opponent. He would be a lot more live than Cephas Fury and Francesco Pianetta. He'd probably beat both of them guys, no problem. Rivas, his biggest kind of weakness is he's very short for the heavyweight. He's a 6 foot tall heavyweight, and he's not exactly the quickest heavyweight in the world. He's not slow compared to some of the bigger guys, but I think he's carrying a little bit too much muscle on him. I think him being in the kind of 230s is not a good weight for him. I think he'd be better off more in the kind of, we'll say, 220s as opposed to the 230s. So I'm actually going to go onto Oscar Rivas' box rec here while I have my web browser page open on my iPad, which I'm going to check here. I'm going to just kind of give you an indication of Oscar Rivas' weights. Oscar Rivas, for those who don't know, because I've seen a few people say they don't know who he is. Now, I've seen him fight a few times. He's 31 years old. He's Colombian. Various wins over guys. Is there any real names we recognise on his box rec? Joey Abel stopped him in the second round. I recognise him. I know Fury beat him. He's coming off a win over Brian Jennings, which I actually saw myself. That was a decent little scrap. And, that's really it. Like, he's been weighing in the 230s, 240s. There's actually a fight here where he weighed 251, which is absurd for Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas is a fighter who is short, and he is maybe a bit too heavy for his height. So against someone like Tyson Fury, who's going to do a lot of moving, that could be a bit of a disadvantage because he's going to need to rely on his speed to get inside on Fury. And, if he's coming in the 230s and he's not as quick and as mobile as he should be, it's going to be a disadvantage. Oscar Rivas is a fighter I know who struggled actually to get a license in the States prior to his fight with Brian Jennings because he actually had issues with his vision, as far as I believe. I don't know if he's got major issues that might have resolved themselves, but I know he had some sort of sight issues before. I think this was back in 2016 or 2017 I might have heard that, so might have resolved itself. But it's a decent opponent for Tyson Fury. It's a rehabilitation fight. Personally, if he's looking at fighting a Deontay Wilder in September, you would think that someone like an Oscar Rivas would be completely out of the realms of, what you'd expect in Deontay Wilder. Because I know a lot of times when a fighter takes a tune-up fight or an interim fight, they try and have a very similar opponent to what they expect to fight. For argument's sake, I know when Alexander Povetkin was mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder, he fought Mariusz Wach. Now, Mariusz Wach obviously isn't completely like Deontay Wilder. He's a lot easier to hit. He's not as fast, but he's of a similar height, similar dimensions to Deontay Wilder. So that was good preparation for Becky, and obviously that fight never happened. But with Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder is 6'7", very tall, very lanky, hits very hard. Oscar Rivas is 6 foot, so he'll be punching down. Whereas with Wilder, he'll be, looking directly at him. So I kind of think that's maybe a bit kind of strange. And I'm not saying this fight is signed or sealed, but I don't think if Tyson Fury is planning on having a rematch with Deontay Wilder, I don't think that fight in Oscar Rivas, it would be good preparation in a sense that it would get rid of some of the rust that he still has, and it would help kind of with his rehabilitation, because it's a live opponent. He should win it. It's a fight he should win, but Rivas will put up resistance. Whereas, fighting some of the other taller guys, they put up as much resistance, who knows? But I still think maybe he should look maybe for a slightly taller fighter than Oscar Rivas. I mean, like I said, if you're planning for Deontay Wilder, fighting a 6 foot tall heavyweight is maybe not ideal preparation. So those are my thoughts on that. If this fight does get announced, I would make Tyson Fury the favourite at this point. I think Tyson Fury would probably win it on points. Probably quite wide points decision as well. I wouldn't see Fury having too many troubles with Oscar Rivas. His fight with Jennings was a competitive fight, and I thought he was winning the fight, but it was competitive until he stopped Jennings in the 12th round. So those are my thoughts on this. Of course, leave your thoughts down below. Am I selling Oscar Rivas short? Maybe. Could he spring an upset? Could he maybe spring an upset? Could he land a bomb on Tyson Fury's chin? Stranger things have happened. You never know, but I wouldn't be putting money on it. I'll just put it like that. So those are my thoughts on this. As always, leave your thoughts down below. As I said, I'm getting the videos out this week, so I'm going to try and keep that up. And as always, leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think. Please share the video, like the video. Do all that good stuff. If you felt it was useful, please share it. And as always, subscribe. And as always, I will talk to you after.